6 years since you first saw it at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, the De Tomaso P72 is finally finished. So if you ordered one and forgot about it, you better clear some space in your garage because deliveries of this thing are starting by Christmas and you're not going to believe how busy the team behind it have been in the meantime. I know it looks the same, but besides the subtly tweaked bodywork, there's a new gearbox to talk about, a totally rethought driving position, and the weird issue of why this car is being sold with a smaller engine than the prototype. And we'll be meeting De Tomaso's boss, Norman Choi, to get the answers. So stick around to hear what's taken him so long and see why the P72 has the maddest key of any new supercar. Now, I know the interior of this thing is absolutely sensational, and don't worry, we're going to dive into all those details in a moment, but we should take a moment just to drink this bodywork back in because I think this thing is utterly gorgeous. And it's refreshing because we're very used now, aren't we, to supercars that prioritise lap time. That means downforce, and that means very aggressive stuff, doesn't it? Valkyrie, W1, F80. This isn't like that at all. This is much more classical, curvaceous. I'm sure it has seen a wind tunnel at some point, but also looks like it could have been carved out of stone by Michelangelo. The P72's panels are all carbon fibre and were originally sketched by ex-McLaren designer Joan Wong, who also drew the much pointier Apollo Intensa Emozione. The company says its chief inspiration was the 1965 De Tomaso P70, a one-off prototype race car that Carroll Shelby was working on before he left to mastermind the Ford GT40. But I'm not the only one also seeing flashes of Ferrari P3, Lola T70 and original Porsche 917 here, am I? But it's not just the looks that have an old school flavour. So the P72 is actually optimised for low drag, and that means that it's got minimal shut lines and cut lines. It all looks very much of one piece, and there are no pop-up aero elements, no air brake, and it's about old school mechanical grip. In fact, the team behind it talk about the inspiration for the handling being more like the cars you see at Goodwood Revival, sliding round on the limit of grip, being steered on the throttle. Now that sounds a little bit grown up and intimidating for a modern supercar, but I like what that says about the De Tomaso because it means something that owners are going to have to learn, they're going to have to respect, they're going to have to build up to rather than just jumping in and maxing straight away. And that means they will be rewarded, the 72 people who are getting one, for actually bothering to get up in the morning, jump inside and learn to drive it. Which they really ought to, given they're paying 1.6 million euros a pop, plus local taxes. So here's the sort of detailing that kind of money buys you. I wanted to show you this. It's a filler cap, not for the fuel tank like it would have been on the original De Tomaso P70 in the 60s, but the world's most ornate washer fluid filler cap. It's a thing of beauty and it's milled from solid aluminium, and it goes to show something that you're also going to see a lot of in the interior, that not everything in the P72 is designed to be as lightweight as possible. Some things are just done for beauty's sake. This is a very gorgeous paperweight and you have to be very careful when putting it back in the bonnet. And while we're down here, worth pointing out this as well. Look at that, a colour-coded De Tomaso badge to match the livery on this particular example in the rose gold, but normally these stripes would be in blue and white, the colours of the Argentinian flag in homage to the heritage of the company founder, Alejandro De Tomaso. See, this is the thing about supercars, isn't it? Beyond all the performance claims, whatever else the numbers can tell you about it, it's about the details. Details which continue as you walk around the P72's achingly pretty long tail. From the rear, you get even more of a sense of just how voluptuous this car is. It doesn't even look like it's made out of carbon fibre, it's more like it's flowing silk that's blowing in the wind. And some of the details, this top exit exhaust with the ceramic coating you can see through the back window, these turbine-like surrounds to the lights, it's all absolutely exquisite. Detail down here you might have noticed that has changed from the car you saw at Goodwood is the diffuser. That was very right-angled and very GT3 race car on the original P72, but it's now much more curvaceous, and you can see these radiators which are there to cool the transmission. There are two of them, and that brings me on to the gearbox. I can delay this no longer. Let's jump inside, let's talk about the gearbox and some of the ridiculous lengths they've had to go to make the P72 comply with modern supercar rules and regulations. For example, lead designer Jakub Jodlowski explained to me the P72's roofline is so low they wouldn't be able to make it in a few years' time because the regs say all road cars are going to have to be a bit taller. Then there's that vertical exhaust, limited to a pathetic 63 decibels from the factory to tick the drive-by noise box. Don't worry though, owners will be offered something a bit fruitier sounding as a naughty option. Anyway, the cabin. And welcome inside one of the most spectacular cabins I've ever had the privilege of sitting in. I mean, this is what we want from a supercar, is it not? Wild materials and fantastic attention to detail. So let's start with the gearbox, because what a centerpiece, what a sculpture. You've got this exposed linkage here. There are no markings to tell you where first or reverse is, how many gears you've got. It is a 6-speed. I did ask Norman, the boss, if any of his 72 customers had requested to have paddle shifters instead of this, and he said,
there are different ways of looking how to construct your car. For me, it's not about just pure speed, it's about the engagement of driving the car. So when you sit in the car, it's almost like a moving theater. It's beautiful. Sometimes life, it's nice to be on the fast lane, but sometimes it's also very nice to be on the slower one, just to enjoy the moment.
I think that was definitely the right decision. If nothing else, look how the super boutique hypercar market has changed since this thing was revealed. Since we saw the P72, we've had the Pagani Utopia, we've had the Gordon Murray T50 and 33, we've had the Aston Martin Valiant. Manual hypercars are very much back. Okay, a few more of the first impressions that hit you in here. Firstly, although De Tomaso say that this is more of a GT car than the Apollo Intensa Emozione, which the company is related to, the driving position is actually pure race car. Got a very low backside, and then your feet are raised up, which feels very motorsport. Got this lovely view out over the tops of the front wings there to help you position the car. And the seats are another thing that have changed since the concept car that you saw at Goodwood. These are now fixed to the tub. Now normally, car makers do that to save a bit of weight. Here they say it's more about safety and giving you space in the cabin. This is quite a tight, shrink-wrapped, almost prototype style cabin, and to comply with the rules and regulations, they need space for the passenger and the driver to be moved about in the event of an accident. So lowering, putting the seat back, fixing it means you have a bit more space. Of course, that means you can't shift the seat to suit your driving position, but like the Ford GT or LaFerrari, the P72 solves that issue with a super adjustable steering column and spring-loaded sliding pedal box. And ignore the big ugly red kill switch, that's only here for this final prototype. More rules and regulations for you. Despite it being shrink-wrapped, it feels a lot more airy than it is because the sheer amount of glass here. This section of the window does drop, as you can see, but yeah, there's a proper fishbowl effect in here, and that doesn't just let you and your lucky passenger see out, it lets everyone see in, and you're in for a treat, aren't you? Look at the metalwork in here. De Tomaso have used the same metalwork supplier as Bugatti use for the new Tourbillon, and we know what an incredible interior that has. But they're very proud of the fact that while the Tourbillon has 160 different pieces of metalwork inside its amazing interior, the P72, 179. So you've got even more bits of metal jewellery to admire. Stuff like all the physical dials here. I have never seen a rev counter with Roman numerals engraved into it that goes all the way up to 9,000 RPM. Then here's the speedo that reads to 380 kph and a reassuringly big fuel gauge pod on the left-hand side. Like De Tomaso's Pantera and Mangusta Heyday, the P72 uses Ford-derived power. Mounted in the middle is a 5-litre Coyote V8, heavily revised by Roush. In fact, The engineers say only the block is recognisably American, with the P72 getting lighter forged pistons, forged crankshaft, and a bespoke supercharger that Norman specified for the quietest possible pulley whine, because he wanted the car to sound naturally aspirated. It develops 700 horsepower, shockingly small numbers in today's power-mad world, and weirdly the development mules used the 6.5 litre V12 from the Apollo. So does the boss regret putting a V8 in the production car?
To be honest, we haven't had any real complaint, from any of the customers. But also from our point of view, it's about respecting history of Di Tomaso, given all of their previous models have had V8 engines, in them, right? Also, at the same time, it's important for me to have a car that is reliable, easy to maintain, and I look at the car itself. It's a timepiece that will pass on to generations. So I wanted to make sure that easy to maintain philosophy will be with the car for the time to come.
Okay, back to that interior, because we're barely halfway through the highlights. Move across into the middle, we have the engine coolant temperature, the engine oil pressure, and the gearbox oil temperature. So no excuse not to be waiting until everything has warmed up before you give it the beans, and then minimal physical controls down here, hazards, ESC off, the starter button, parking sensors, and the lock. But I want to come back to the starter button. You think that's the process? No, that's merely the end flourish to the starting procedure for this car, which starts with this, the key. So on this side, in beautiful leather, we have a P72 logo, unlock and lock buttons. And that is laid down into this recess here. You click that and it wakes the car up, but then you remove this gorgeous milled De Tomaso physical key, and here's one I inserted earlier. You put it into the key barrel, twist it, and then you hit the starter button. So you've got this 3-process starting procedure. It's just all about sense of occasion. Now, I can't start this one for you right now, I'm afraid, because we're in a studio and this particular car doesn't have a finished exhaust system on it just yet. But if you'd like some V8 noise, here's a clip we made earlier. Another tweak that looks small but would have taken a huge amount of engineering to sort, since the Goodwood car is a lower carbon sill, so easier to get in and out of. And this is a proper unibody monocoque as well. It's all one piece, built to LMP1 race car crash standards. Which is reassuring, since the P72 has no airbag. The steering wheel is adorned with buttons for raising the ride height. You can raise the car by up to 45mm front and rear for those tricky driveway entries. There's your main beam get out of my way flasher button, then wipers and the fog light. Yet more knurled controls live on the roof panel, of course, because jet fighter vibes. Turning these lowers and raises the electric windows. You've got your interior light. This is the HVAC system for changing where the air's blowing, the temperature, and the fan speed. Oh, one of the only concessions to modern digital technology in here is the rear view mirror, which is actually a screen connected to the rear view camera, because company boss Norman, as a serial supercar owner, says he gets really annoyed with poor visibility when trying to park in tight Hong Kong based parking garages. So that's there, but it is a delete option if you'd prefer it wasn't. But if you've been waiting to discover where the knurled rose gold volume knob or pop-up Apple CarPlay screen is, I've got bad news. There isn't one. There is no entertainment system of any kind in here for 2 reasons. One, you're going to be entertained anyway. You've got a 700 horsepower V8 pushing you along. And 2, like that flowing exterior, the interior of this car is all about timelessness. We all know that cars with iPads bolted to the dashboard are a pain in the backside to operate, and they look dated after a couple of years. Whereas this thing, with its milled gear lever, exposed linkage, the tactile key, all these beautiful knurled controls, it's an absolute piece of artwork. Artwork, of course, takes time, but I had to ask Norman, what on earth has taken so long? Why has it been 6 years?
Well, it's been chaotic, in the past 5 years. We've had COVID, And then obviously, we wanted to do the car justice by really looking into the engineering details of what we want to have in the car and basically the way how I want to build the car. So we have gone through a complete revisions of the entire engineering effort, going into the vehicles, starting with the monocoque, subframe, suspensions, and obviously the materials that are going in relation to the craftsmanships, and even little details down to the metalworks of the vehicles.
And you may have heard off the back of the track-only P900, there's been rumours of a De Tomaso race team, even a shot at Le Mans. I had to ask the boss about that.
I think for us, it's one step at a time. We have had the brand of being the custodian for the past 11 years, and it has taken us quite a long time to arrive to where we are today. So my top priority is to deliver our first P72 customer car first, then we'll look into other alternatives in time to come.
The P72 is being built in Affalterbach by race team HWA. So it's a fusion of Italian-Argentinian heritage with American power, Chinese design and German engineering. From a British perspective, I just wanted to stare at it.
Ole! Ole!
Oh, sorry. I mean, can you blame me? Supercar startups may come and go. They often turn up with some noise and overpromise, but I'm very, very pleased after a bit of a delay, the De Tomaso is just about ready for driving, and if that isn't a reason to get subscribed to the Top Gear channel, then I don't know what is. In the meantime, let me know in the comments, alongside Bugatti, Pagani, Koenigsegg, is this new bedroom wall poster material?